Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show for the 1st of February. We're already into February of 2016. Unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting intro clip there.
Yeah.
Well, what made you choose the Italian job?
Just because I was going through and looking at the list of what we've got going on today and just been sort of thinking about some things, but obviously Michael Caine is in one of the big films we've got this week, so it was kind of just looking through, thinking out things and, oh yeah, okay, that'll do. And yeah.
Okay.
It's a great clip though, isn't it?
It is, but it was just an interesting choice considering.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear the Italian job, and then I was thinking, has he got like a secret piece of news that they're remaking the Italian job again?
Oh, good God,
and that's
I
the
hope
reason
not.
why he's gone with the opening clip for that, or something like that?
No. No. We've got quite a bit to come up on this show, obviously, going through this week's. We've got quite a lot of releases, both in DVDs later on and also in upcoming cinema section. Quite a lot to go through indeed, including quite a lot of, well, true stories, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you do realise there are quite a lot.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
Quite a lot, yeah.
Just quite a lot.
So I'm just looking at the list on my screen, and it actually goes off of my screen, which is very rare.
Quite a lot. Oscar-nominated drama Spotlight, animated adventure Capture the Flag. Michael Bay returns to action with 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. You've got mining drama The 33, and then Michael Caine, as you heard in the intro clip there, is stars in Youth.
Yeah, as well as of course, some movie news before that, the box office top 10. But then after all that, we'll come back for the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 and these new DVD releases.
And why have your voice started to rise higher and higher and higher then?
I don't know, it just did.
Just when it's like you were trying to actually say everything in one breath without actually breathing. That's my job, I did that perfectly.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
all right. Your challenge is to read out all these titles, as many as there are, because it's quite a lot.
It's quite easy.
Yeah, without taking a breath. Go on. Okay, so go.
On Blu-ray and DVD, you've got action-adventure sequel Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials, and then drama within a comedy, The Walk, thriller Sicario, Macbeth, Miss You Already, Captive, Regression, and Irrational Man.
I heard you starting to struggle towards the end. That's why you stopped describing them, isn't it? You just started reading them out.
No, because if I started describing them, we still would be here 5 minutes down the line.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though, as usual, we'll get going because we have got all that to go through. Start off with some pieces of movie news. First off, regarding the upcoming Alien Covenant movie, the Prometheus sequel, as it has been titled, with confirmation from Ridley Scott directly that Noomi Rapace will not be returning for the film. Confirmed in an interview just recently, stating that we're still in casting the main roles. Waterston and Fassbender are the only actors locked in for the Alien Covenant at this time. Catherine Waterston being the other one, who's an actress from the movie Inherent Vice, would be the last thing that she appeared in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Considering that, no spoilers, but it's just interesting that Noomi Rapace's character is not. Sort of like you had an inclination that she might be sort of like Prometheus's Ripley. In a way, it's just the way the film panned out in the end with Prometheus, and so you got that kind of feeling. And so, in other words, what they're saying is a character was lost in space or something.
Well, if Michael Fassbender's being brought back, the only thing I can think of is that he's not going to be the same David that we saw in Prometheus. He's probably going to be another duplicate unit like they had with Lance Henriksen supposedly in Alien 3.
So it'll be interesting on how far in the future from Prometheus Alien Covenant is actually set, because it's understandable with David's character. He was a droid, and so you can have multiple copies of that, and so it has to be past Noomi Rapace's character's life span for the film to be set. So 100 years later, after the incident that happened in Prometheus, maybe. The gap between Prometheus and the first Alien.
Well, think about it. Obviously, Noomi Rapace is in her 30s, 40s. I don't know how old she is actually. She's somewhere. Let's say roughly 35. So that it could be easily 60 years later and probably past her character's lifespan.
Still, I would be interested in find out what the difference timeline Prometheus is to the first Alien. What's the gap? Because they are supposed to share the same universe, and after this, whatever Ridley Scott is doing with Alien Covenant, and after that, it's supposed to match up with Alien, and then when Blomkamp finally gets the chance to do Alien 5, that's supposed to land somewhere between 2 and 3, and it's gonna be worse than the Fast and Furious series to put in order.
Well, the Fast and Furious series is quite easy to put in order.
Yeah, but it doesn't chronologically run.
No, but I mean nowadays, to be honest, what films do run completely in chronological order even. Yeah.
But it confuses a lot of people. Let's just
It's temporal mechanics. Everybody hates temporal mechanics.
Yeah, 20 past 9, and we're talking about temporal mechanics. It's a good job we're not
off to a good start, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a good job we're not reviewing movies like Primer, because then we would baffle everybody out there to do with mathematics and statistical analysis and time travel and stuff.
No time travel this week.
No timey-wimey stuff. Is that it for your news?
Yes, that's all I've got this week.
Yeah, it's been a bit of lacking on the news front when it comes to movies. Video games wise, I was able to find quite a few stories on the video game show that I did yesterday, but news wise, movie stuff, it's sort of lacking, so I had to dredge pretty much at the bottom of the barrel for news, and I found these stories. The BBFC have confirmed that Deadpool has been passed uncut as a 15, so it's nice to see the film's uncut. However, director T.J. Miller has also confirmed that a harder cut, no surprise there, of the film will be released on DVD and Blu-ray at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's to be expected the way things are now, but the reason for that is that because there was an interview where there were things said recently that they during the filming they did a whole load of things, and there was lots of takes. I suspect we're going to get loads of harder uncut versions where they used an alternate take that was considered too racy even for the cinema, because there were apparently takes for things that they went, that's too far, we cannot do that, and they basically decided not to release it in America with that version because of the rating system in America is weird. But basically you've got the 15 is more equivalent to what they have over there is what's called an R rating, which is, now get this, anyone under the age of 17 can go but needs to be accompanied by an adult.
Yeah. And then you've got the killer one, which is the NC-17.
NC-17, yeah, which the last film to be released with that rating, I believe, was Killer Joe. And the thing is, the studios don't like releasing that rating because a lot of cinemas won't show it for the reason that they think, oh, no one's going to go and see this because of the ratings too high. And you know, so it means that NC basically means no children under 17, so nobody under 17. You have to be 17 or over to actually go in and see the film, like an 18 here. So, I mean, you can kind of see how studios, when they're releasing things here, they want to get the 15 instead of getting the 18 because it means they've got more chance of people going to see it, and more chance of cinema showing it. Because, I mean, let's face it, if you're one of these small cinemas that only has 3 screens, and you want to obviously make sure you're going to get people coming in and you're going to not lose money in revenue, you're not going to want to show a film that only a handful of people can possibly want to go and see.
Yeah, I'll challenge your Killer Joe one with blue as the warmest colour. That was an NC-17 in America, and that came out in 2013-14.
Yeah.
So there was
and
that. And,
was that an 18 here or was that a 15 here? I think that was
18,
a 15.
Oh God, it was an 18.
I haven't seen it, but because I remember someone saying about it that it was very good, but they were surprised at it being an 18 because it's.
No, I reviewed it. I reviewed it on the show, and yes, it definitely is an 18 film, that movie. But if Rob Zombie had his way, his movie 31, which is his latest film, which is coming out in a couple of months' time, that was going to be given an NC-17 3 times. He took the movie to the studio to be rated 3 times, and he had to cut quite a bit out of it for it to get an R. So it would have been 31.
Do you want to hear an interesting, just a little bit of trivia about an NC-17 issue that almost happened with Scream? The original Scream, Wes Craven's one back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Originally submitted to the American board, the MPAA, which is like the BBFC here, and it got an NC-17 for the opening scene with Drew Barrymore's character, and he basically turned around to them and said, "I can't change it, we didn't film it and get any other coverage," so they let them have an R. They let them away with an R after he said that, made that excuse.
And the movie that surprised me that got an NC-17 in America was The Descent.
I didn't know that.
Neil Marshall's The Descent was given an NC-17 in America.
Must have been something in it that was particularly bad.
You've seen The Descent, haven't you?
A long time ago, and honestly, I cannot remember much of it.
There is a bit of gribbly violence in it, but nothing we've never seen before.
I think it's the fact that it has, if I remember right, does it not have a scene where somebody is torturing someone or something? And
someone gets a pickaxe through their leg.
Yeah, but it's the basically the thing of that someone is the torture of it is basically it's the whole thing of like if it's too much pain if it's supposedly the infliction of pain that is the problem. You can quite easily shoot someone, but as long as you're not like just making them tormented in pain, then that's the problem.
Yeah, the thing is though, I Spit on Your Grave didn't get an NC-17.
But I think how old is that though? That was back before.
No, I mean the remake of I Spit on Your Grave did not get an NC-17, and that features rape, a prolongated rape scene in it, and that did not get an NC-17. Whereas The Descent, there is a scene where one of the gribbly monsters in it gets these eyeballs poked out. But again, there's been more graphic scenes I've seen in an R-rated movie released in America than there has been in The Descent. So that surprised me, that one. Other news, director Colin Trevorrow has confirmed that Star Wars Episode 9 will shoot on film instead of digital. Hooray!
Well, I mean, they seem to be taking this approach with the Star Wars films, don't they? I don't think there's a massive issue with them doing it digitally. I think they're just trying to make sure they get that feel of film, because there is a difference in the film. You watch something that's on digital, you watch something that's on film, you can tell the difference. And I think as well that film helps them to add a texture to it.
Yeah, I love watching a movie that's shot on film. And
I mean, the only thing that would make it more interesting is to then see it in the IMAX version and see it not as an actual digital projection. See one of the IMAX the IMAX film rolls, because there is 2 IMAX screens in the UK that do actual projections with the actual film. One of them is in Glasgow. One of them is in London. Because the other one.
I've been to that one in London.
No, the one in London. Not yet. Or have you been to the Waterloo one? It's the Waterloo one, does it? The other one is a digital one.
Yeah, I have been to that one.
Yeah, because I've actually been at one and seen the roll. Have you actually seen the roll of the film? It is. It's literally the size of my living room. It's gigantic. It's honestly, you could lie down on it. It's like that whole thing, that picture of the what's it called, the human figure standing with the torsos out and everything.
Yeah.
It's like that. If you lied down and did that, you would basically just be covering it. That's ridiculous.
Or it's Galileo's Adam or something like that. It's how he saw the creation of man. But
it's like that kind of size. That is the real. It's so big that they can't actually load it vertically. They have to lie it down and screen it that way.
Yeah. In more Star Wars news, Star Wars Episode 8, along with the Wonder Woman movie and the Mummy reboot, could face even more delays, as lighting technicians could be going on strike due to a disruption with their employees' PACT. It's all actually down to money. So what producers are doing on those films are actually holding very emergency talks with them to try and prevent the strike. The strike is going to happen at the end of the month in February if it does go ahead, it will delay Star Wars Episode 8 again, because it was announced that Star Wars Episode 8 is now coming out at Christmas 2017 and not as intended middle of 2017, and so it could, if this strike is not prevented, be pushed back even further.
And the thing is, a lot of people will be thinking, oh, it's just lighting, guys. What's so important about that? Lighting is incredibly important for a visual thing of a film. If you do not get lighting right, you can completely screw up shots, completely waste time. It's something that you do not want to mess with and joke around with. And I know people who are actually lighting people in technician and stuff, and that work in it, and it's not an easy thing to do. You got to know your stuff to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And these are big films. There's 9 films that is going to be harmed by this, and they're not small movies at all, and so they are big films. And especially with something like Star Wars, the lighting is just paramount.
Yeah, because you got to get the lighting working, especially in something like Star Wars, in correlation with whoever is doing the digital effects and stuff, because they will be there making sure that the light meters and everything works for them, so that it matches up when they're doing the effects. Otherwise, it means then the effects get delayed, which just is the knock-on effect.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. I'll keep a close eye on that one. And final piece of news is Rupert Sanders, who directed Snow White and the Huntsman, has been confirmed as the director of the live-action version of the manga Ghost in the Shell.
If it happens.
Scarlett Johansson. It's actually got a tentative release date of the first half of 2017.
Yeah, wasn't there something about it potentially being delayed more or something now, and having problems as well or something?
No surprise. Problems.
Yeah. It's going to be the new Crow.
Yes.
Yeah,
problems after problems after problems.
Yeah. Box office top 10 then. Going with that.
At number 10 is The Danish Girl.
Yeah, I still haven't seen this. In fact, there's quite a few coming up in the top 10 we're going to have to go through, and you're going to have to do them, so I haven't seen them.
Yeah, the Danish Girl, will it win Eddie Redmayne an Oscar for the second year in a row? Probably not. It's probably going to go to Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant. It's a okay to very good performance. Alicia Vikander steals the show with this. I don't think you're gonna have no time at all to see The Danish Girl. I'm hoping that you might get a chance to watch The Danish Girl before the winners of the Oscars are actually announced, just so you can get a feel that if it did deserve it or not. But yeah, I think it's a slightly Oscar bait kind of movie, which they annoy me.
I've not seen it, like I said, but I've heard from a lot of people saying that he's not the strongest thing in it, that Alicia Vikander is stronger in the film.
Yeah, she is the strongest thing, but then you've also got very weak supporting cast, and so Matthias Schoenaerts, I think, does his best out of the rest of the supporting roles, but even his role is not strong enough.
Okay.
And number 9 is a new entry for The Fifth Wave.
This is the other film I haven't seen in the top 10.
Yeah, it's one of these teen movies which is sort of got a bit of an identity crisis, because it was rated 15. I think the only reason why it was rated 15 was probably down to the fact that there was violence between children revolving around guns. Because we've seen the Hunger Games movies, and apart from the DVD releases of the Hunger Games, on the big screen they're 12A, and there is violence between children involving blood actually, and weapons actually killing children. In this one you don't see that, but it questions why is it rated 15. It harms the movie in that case, because this is aimed at teens, anywhere from, I would say, 11 up to the 15 range, and so it was always going to struggle. It's average at best. Chloe Grace Moretz is fine in the film. It sags badly in the middle. Then the director realizes the need to bring a bit more action in it. It's got a decent idea. It just throws that idea down the pan in the first 15 minutes by just rushing through each one of the 5 waves. And so you want to find out more about it. You could have actually made a TV series that lasted pretty much the same length as Falling Skies, going over each one of the waves in each one of the series, done 5 seasons of it, and I think it would have worked. It would have worked much better as a TV series. As a film, it just doesn't work at all.
Okay.
Number 8 is The Hateful Eight.
Which is Quentin Tarantino's not his best film. It's kind of his tour de force of basically all the actors that he's had in most of his films so far, majority of them. But it is more kind of like a stage play, and the thing is that it is far too long. It's a very much more his kind of over stylized, but very much more kind of his M. Night Shyamalan with long takes and long shots, which is not bad, because I mean I quite like that about it. The problem is just that there's a big lull early on, and him doing this whole thing of showing it in chapters that are out of order again, and you kind of towards the end of it you start going, well, I didn't need it to be that. You could have just done it in chronological order. It would have been a much more, I know it would have been a much more conventional film, but it would have been a better way to tell the story than just doing it because, oh, it's a Quentin Tarantino film, I have to break it up.
At number 7 is Room,
which is a staggering film, because it's a film that should be so dark and depressing given the subject, but it's not. It is kind of a groundbreaking one that it's, I don't want to say uplifting, but it's one that you come out of it actually feeling sort of good about the character's situation and the things that where they basically find themselves after the events of the film. And it's filled with two great performances from I've forgotten the names now. Jacob Tremblay is the boy, and also Brie Larson. The two of them are absolutely brilliant and hold the audience, especially Jacob Tremblay, who is just incredible, given that we've not really seen him or anything, and just has to really carry the film on I think he's 8 years old. 9-year-old kid to actually hold the film and hold his attention. I mean, where was this kid when George Lucas was doing the prequels for Star Wars?
I think that would have ruined him, so I'm glad he didn't actually appear then, and that kid wasn't born.
Yeah, I know, but you know.
Yeah, it's just. I think Room and Spotlight have something in common, and I'll just leave it like that until we get to Spotlight. But I think the way Room handles its story and the way Spotlight handles its story, both very tough subjects, I think they have something very, very much in common. But number 6 is Daddy's Home,
which is a perfectly fine comedy. It is a comedy because it did make me laugh on more than one occasion, and it's because of the great sort of repertoire between Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, who have this odd kind of bromance relationship, even when they're playing sort of enemies at one part of the film on screen and competitors on screen. It still manages to work for them, and it's not by any means fantastic or brilliant, but it passes the time and gets its laughs.
At number 5 is Creed,
which is a surprising spin-off from the Rocky movies, considering that I'm not a fan of the Rocky films. I can barely remember the first one because it has been a long time since I saw it. I was never a fan of them. I've seen them all over the years, but at no point did I think, oh, I really want to see a Rocky film.
All I'll say with Rocky is he runs up a big flight of stairs and then sticks his arms in the air and screams.
Yeah, but it's the thing is, I mean, it's one of those franchises that you think, if you're not a fan of the series, this comes out and you think, well, it's another Rocky film, but it's not. It's doing its own thing. So I went, okay, I'll see it, see what it's like, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was really nicely handled. It's got some great character development. It's got some great beats. It's got some brilliant directed sequences with the fights. And it's quite sort of amazing that somebody can come along, a decades on, 3 decades almost on from the first one, and still come out with something that's fresh and new.
And number 4 is the new entry for The Big Short.
I really, really love this film. It is witty, and I think it's very clever. And the fact is that it's a film which does what I didn't think was going to be possible, in that is that it takes the whole thing of the financial crisis and manages to actually make it simply make sense, so that you can watching it and you can understand it and not have to be sitting there going, scratching your head going, hang on a minute, I don't get this, what's that? And at no point did I get lost in it and start wondering what was going on, because it quite plainly sets out what's going on right in front of you, literally at points, by taking analogies and just breaking it down simply for you. So I thought it was very well handled. I thought it was very witty. I love the repertoire, and I love the performances, especially Steve Carell, who should have got a nomination for it.
Yeah, I think it's a good film. It's not a brilliant film in my opinion. Number 3, Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Said everything up.
Yeah. I mean,
number 2 is a new entry for Ride Along 2.
Which I honestly didn't see the point of it when I saw it. The first one was not great. It did get a couple laughs. This one I didn't laugh at all, except for one gag which is in the trailer, which admittedly because it was just funny seeing Kevin Hart getting beaten up by a fan. And the second gag was something that right towards the end that I did laugh at, genuinely, even though I kind of thought afterwards I shouldn't have laughed at that because it's not entirely funny, but it did make me laugh because it was something that happened to Kevin Hart's character. It's just a waste of material, and I mean it's the fact that the first one which made a ton of money, so of course they made a second one, and then they made it dumber because they went, oh, we're going to make it a 12A and so it can get more people, and
yeah, it's low expectations, barely met them, but it's nothing to run to.
I cannot believe that's the movie that went to number 1 in America.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? It's Kevin Hart. He can just moan his way to number 1 in America, and the number 1 over here in the UK is still The Revenant.
Yeah, which is a tour de force of basically gut bashing, shooting, jumping, tomahawks, Indians, more shooting, drowning, freezing ice cold conditions, snowy blizzards, and you're sitting there with the main character played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and you're feeling it going along with him. You don't obviously feel it exactly, but you're sitting there, and you're sitting in your chair, and you're, oh, it's cold, I feel that. That's, I really hope he gets the Oscar for this, because he put himself going through hell, and it was just, I think, so worth it, because it does come out on the screen. I do think it's brilliantly directed. I do think the only problem with it is that it needs stripping down for time. The pacing of it, in particular, in the middle, there's a lull, and there's a big sequence, I think, where the character meets another character, which could have just been cut out completely. It didn't need to be in there, and that's the only thing I have a problem with it. The rest of it, absolutely amazing and visually just captivating.
That's it for the top 10.
Yeah.
One film is obviously missing from the top 10. We reviewed it last week, Dirty Grandpa. That's because it was on preview week.
Yeah.
Up until the Friday, its numbers will not be revealed until tomorrow, Wednesday probably. So
which then it will go in to this week's top 10. What do you reckon? What do you think
I haven't seen it yet.
No, but what do you reckon? Where do you think it'll go in?
I'm hoping not. Richard.
I wish.
I really hope that it won't, but because it's got Zac Efron, and because it's got Robert De Niro, and teenagers will be going in to see it because of those two names, it'll be middle of the chart, number 5, number 4, somewhere in that. But because there were so many films that was released on Friday, I'm hoping it's 5 or 4.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's less than that. well, higher up than that. You know what I mean. Not in the top 5. Fingers crossed.
10, not in the top 50 from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the first of our big films this week, with the true story Spotlight, directed by Tom McCarthy. He also had a hand in writing it with Josh Singer. It is the story of how the Boston Globe sort of looked into and found out about issues of child molestation related to the church, the Catholic Church, and then started finding out about the fact of that there were not only sort of one of these cases, there was more, and that the fact of that the church apparently had been covering them up and moving sort of priests away to keep this from sort of becoming a public issue. They of course start delving into this with the Spotlight team of the paper, who comprise of Michael Keaton, Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams, and another character I think played by Brian James. They all sort of, the four of them start going through and investigating, going and interviewing, checking into records of churches and parishes and such, all the while dealing with the fact of that this is something that happened potentially in their local community, a very much Catholic religious community, and something that potentially could be very earth-shattering and devastating to a lot of them, including, as I said, in the cast, Mark Ruffalo's character, who takes a particular issue with it at one point. Here's a clip.
We got law. This is it.
No, this is law covering for one priest. There's another 90 out there.
Yeah, and we'll print that story when we get it, but we got to go with this now.
Oh, No, I'm not going to rush the story, Mike.
We don't have a choice, Robbie. If we don't rush to print, somebody else is going to find these letters and butcher the story. Joe Quimby from the Herald was at the freaking courthouse.
Mike.
What? Why are we hesitating? Barron told us to get law. This is law.
Barron told us to get the system. We need the full scope. That's the only thing that will put an end to this.
Then let's take it up to Ben, let him decide.
We'll take it to Ben when I say it's time.
It's time, Robbie. It's time. They knew, and they let it happen. 2 kids. Okay? It could have been you. It could have been me. It could have been any of us. We gotta nail these scumbags. We gotta show people that nobody can get away with this. Not a priest or a cardinal or a freaking pope.
So, the thing with Spotlight is, it is one of these films that, oddly, when you're watching it, doesn't feel as if it is trying to make it this big thing, as if it's trying to blow it open wide. It's just trying to show how these characters went about doing their job, how reporters started doing it. And to that effect, it actually has moments where it shows the monotonousness of them, the number of paperwork that they have to go through, the things that the amount of times it takes them going through. And this was in the I can't remember if it's 80s or 90s, but this is around the time before the internet. You didn't have a lot of things computer stored. You had a lot of things that they search through and find are old newspaper clippings that have been kind of kept in these scrapbooks of their history archives of their paper. It's all on paper copies. It's all, you know, these nothing digital, nothing computers. It's a lot of records and matching and searching, phoning up people and searching, you know, records that way over the phones and things. And it shows that just how investigative journalism has kind of possibly died off because of things like the internet. It shows how how much more was involved at those times, and it's more that I think interesting in that way, that it means that the characters, because they're delving into it with their own hands, with their own fingers, and feeling their way through it all, I think means that the story comes across as being a lot more personal to them, a lot more connected to them, and it makes that much more of an interesting aspect, because this isn't a visually groundbreaking film. It is filmed at certain times just very basically. It's not a massive film, as I say. But the thing is with that is that because I think that helps to actually sell this approach of this realism, this aspect to it. It's not grandizing the whole story. It's making it, just as I say, these 4 characters and some other ones, and you've got the new editor of the paper, played by Lee Schreiber, who's come in, is also playing it sort of down keys. And there's scenes when he's just sitting there, and instead of going, like banging his fist on the table saying, "I say this, you do this," he's saying, "Well, how about we do this? If we do this, I think we should do that. Can you do that first? Can you guys do this?" And he's very, very calm. He's very, very subdued. He's not kind of, saying, "I'm the boss. This is what happens," which is the kind of thing you normally see in these kind of films. He's very low, down to earth, and it comes through as much more realistic, much more human, and much more believable, which makes it, as you learn the things that were going on, you have the moments where you have interviews with people and pieces of information are all found and put together, all the more shocking as the news is found and the events are found, and you start to realise just how big the scale of the issue is as it goes on towards the end of the film. It's really quite a groundbreaking and shocking film because of the fact that it is so low key, and it isn't trying to hammer it home. It's just going, here are the facts, this happened, this is how these people found it, and that's what makes it quite impressive.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking because it has been done multiple times before.
But it's groundbreaking, I mean, by not being groundbreaking, if you understand what I mean there.
Yeah, it's oxymorons kind of things, but yeah, I don't believe it's groundbreaking even just to try not be groundbreaking. I think it's like we said in the top 10, I think this movie's got something in common with Room, because the way Room actually plays it out is you can sort of understand that her son in Room is sort of like the product of a rape, pretty much, because he kidnapped her, put her in a room, and then the son is the product of that, but it's never fully ever alluded to. You get one scene where it's shown, maybe hinted at, but it's never fully alluded to, and that's how we know it is. Whereas in Spotlight, you do get tellings from people where they've been involved with what's happened with priests, vicars, etc. to them, but it's never fully shown. It's described, but not like it never goes over the top. It just makes you more interested in it rather than being disgusted by it, because you're disgusted by the thing that's happening, but you're not disgusted by how people actually tell how it goes on, because it's happened to a lot of people. It's a reality. It's a real thing that's going on, and so you can just imagine how hard it must be for somebody to be able to tell you that. It's gonna like rip them apart on the inside, and so it is a deplorable, nasty thing for them to describe. And so when you don't feel disgusted, but you feel sorry for them and disgusted at the thing that's happened rather than what they're describing, that's how the movie handles it. It handles it like that, and it's done really well on that case, because it could have gone down the exploitative kind of route to try and push its story across, but it never ever feels like that. It's sort of like, you look at it like Margin Call in a way. Like Margin Call was all about the credit crisis and all that kind of stuff, but never sort of like felt like it was a credit crisis movie and sort of like hammered it home constantly at you. This is about a group of journalists who are trying to expose the what's actually happening in this kind of thing. So it never fully smacks you in the face with nasty, gritty details. Mm-hmm. It makes you follow their story and their plight. It has problems every now and again, but you sort of like forgive those problems because the film is actually pretty strong. It's got some very good performances in it. But yeah, overall, it is. I wouldn't say it's a brave film, but it's a very interesting movie that pretty much is very similar to Room, and it's intelligent directing. It's intelligent filmmaking, and Hollywood has this kind of thing. This is the kind of movie that I think should be nominated for Oscars, rather than these Oscar bait movies where it looks like it's made for an Oscar, going screaming at them, yes, give me an award, give me a nomination. This is the kind of movie where the director, I think, is made it to get this point across, the information that's happened in it, rather than saying to the judging panel, you know what, I deserve an award. It deserves an award on its own merit rather than it forcing an award on itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unlike Capture the Flag.
Yeah, right away. Don't even have to build it up. Just.
Yeah, no rant involved, but it's another one of those alarm bell ringing when you sit down, and as soon as the credits open up where you've got like 50 different companies involved, as soon as you see that, you think, yeah, I know what to expect here. And then when you see the first few frames, yeah, the animation in the movie is ugly. It's really ugly, and it tells a very simplistic story. It centers around a family who's got pretty much a curse. Now, not like a curse where a witch places it upon it, but a curse where when they attempt something bad happens. And in this case, they're astronauts. So the grandfather, he was supposed to be a part of Apollo 11. However, something happened and he couldn't be involved in it. So he's in a retirement home for astronauts. His son works at NASA, and unfortunately, just about as he was about to go into space, NASA closed down their program. And so unfortunately for him, that's not going to happen. So his son decides to bring it upon himself to try and get into space when a malevolent, evil, bad guy decides to do a plot where he wants to mine this energy on the moon to have a big conglomerate on Earth and force people to buy his energy from there. So it's up to NASA to prove that the moon landing actually happened, to send a rocket into space, and this clip will explain the hijinks of what the sun causes.
Can I ask, what are you two doing?
Grandpa, what are you doing here?
Have you gone crazy? You need to get out of here, now! What the heck did you do?
Huh?
Mission Control here. May I ask what you're doing in there, Captain?
I was taking care of a couple of intruders when the hatch got locked.
Frank, who's there?
I found your son and his girlfriend inside the capsule. We've got two options. We go to the moon, or we eject.
Captain! Captain! Captain, what's going on?
I'm afraid they've sabotaged that as well.
Then there's only one option. Let's go to the moon.
EECOM.
Go.
Fido.
Go.
GNC.
Go.
Retro.
Go.
Guidance.
It's a go.
Go for flight.
One rule. I break one rule in my whole life and I end up in a rocket heading to the moon. Yeah!
And as you can tell in that, it's all, oh wow, oh boy, we're going to the moon kind of thing.
That's, you know, that actually sounded like. I'm sorry, I'm just reminded of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that. See, when we grew up watching children's animated programs, you've just mentioned Ren and Stimpy there, for example. It was sort of like gross out humour, but it was never like high pitched, oh boy, oh golly gosh kind of stuff. Now, if you look at the way animated programs are now showing now on places like Nickelodeon, it is those big bug-eyed kind of animated characters, badly animated ones, looks really ugly, and yeah, that's pretty much Capture the Flag. Capture the Flag is an hour and a half of awful animation. The animation is so stinted and lacking so bad of detail. It's like they've got Botox. They've just stuck the animated characters, filled them with Botox, and they weren't allowed to move. And then when they do speak, it is that oh boy, oh golly gosh kind of stuff. And it's just, the story is mundane. It's rated PG because the word crap is said 7 times. Now, it's a kid's animated film. Take out the word crap and it would have easily been a U, because there's nothing else much in this film that alleviates above that. And it just goes down for the lowest common denominator, so they know that a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old is going to giggle at that word when it's said every single time. Oh my god, I've just said that word. And yeah, it's bad. It's just bad. There is a lot more animated films. Just don't go to see this. Go to your cinema on a Saturday and Sunday morning when they have the 10:30 club kind of thing, where you get in for £1 and you get to see movies like Minions being re-released, or even The Good Dinosaur, or things like that. Just avoid movies like this. I wish they would stop making them, to be honest, because it's not going to get them any money. They're always going to lose money. So yeah, it's just forgettably bad.
Is it as bad? I have a question. Is it as bad as the last Tarzan animated film?
It's got that kind of animated feel to it, you know. That just had absolutely no life in it. Like, they didn't even try. That's pretty much the same with this. There isn't any even the only time where you might think that is slightly captivating is when one of the stations on the moon explodes into a big massive green flame. Ooh, green flame, that's it.
Okay.
It's sort of like that scene in A Bug's Life where you see that mosquito fly into the fly trap. Oh, the lights.
Right. Okay. Then back to the world of the true story adaptations with 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. It is directed by Michael Bay. It's the script is written by Chuck Hogan. It's based on the book by Mitchell Zuckoff. It's all centering around the events in 2012, when on September the 11th of 2012, the anniversary of the Twin Towers, there was a attack on a compound in Benghazi. In Libya. Basically, at the time there were several sort of embassies around the world in places that were considered critical. Libya was one of them, especially. You had all the other ones were shut down, and of course then at that point there was just in the country there was a small sort of contingent with a single ambassador, and just sort of a mile down the road in a secret unknown CIA agency there was a 6-man team, which are basically they're kind of like commando sort of things. They're, you know, the private security that are people that used to be military, they're now contractors. You have these 6 characters. We're introduced to one of them, Jack, played by John Krasinski, as he arrives on a plane, arrives, teams and sort of gets in with them. They're all sort of there for a while, and you sort of learn the lay of the land when, of course, these events happen. The embassy is attacked, and they find themselves in a situation where they are along the road, kind of in a situation of, do we help them or not? We're not supposed to, but, you know, can we just leave? Obviously, them being Americans, can we leave Americans there just at the risk of them just dying? Here's a clip.
GRS, muster to CP right now.
I thought it was going to be a peaceful night.
No, I need more information than that.
We got Chief. Sir. How many?
20 to 40 attackers. State personnel is separated into several positions.
Listen up.
None of you have to go. We are the only help they have. 2 vehicles station ready. Let's go. Move.
So here's the thing with 13 Hours. It really wants to be the kind of the new Black Hawk Down. If you don't know Black Hawk Down, obviously that is the one that's Ridley Scott, which was also based on a true event where an American operation went wrong. They found themselves kind of splitting, a lot of people sort of stranded and having to fight their own way out of a really bad situation. This has a similar feel to it. Not, I don't think intentionally, but because of the fact of that there's the story is based on these events that happened where things went wrong, and then these people found themselves in a situation where they're kind of in a siege, because it's a 2 hour and 20 odd minute film, so it's not a short film by any means. But the thing of it is that it has that very similar setup. You have that initial sort of half an hour of character arriving, getting to know the lay of the land, meeting the people, then all hell breaks loose. There's this other situation going on which they have to go and sort of help in after a while, and there's the initial chaos of that, which is a very chaotic scene, which is where the film has a big problem of that. There are some scenes that are genuinely hard to follow because it's chaotic all over the place, which I think is intentional because to show how events did get all crazy and messed up and cause problems, but it could have been done a different way. The film really, for me though, did kind of start getting its act together in the last hour, where it is all about this siege that happens basically, and you have these 6 men basically in this compound on the roofs, and as there are these hundreds of people, not hundreds literally at once, but over time, over different raids that are attempted, these 6 men holding off these people basically that are just running along shooting at them in the dark. And it is one of those films that it does have a quite impressive, well shot, well done, well staged action sequences of this happening. I think that Michael Bay deservedly has had does get a rap for having done obviously the Transformers films, which are horribly overcranked, over edited, over stylized, over the top and lurid and horrible as well, with all these the kind of the leeriness of them that's in them. I found this was quite a kind of nice return to form for him, because I mean, going back, he directed Bad Boys, which is a great action film. He directed The Rock, which is one of my favourite action films, before he went on to sort of the slope downhill, and then things like Bad Boys 2, which was okay but started showing the signs, and then obviously the Transformers films, which just got worse and worse as they went on. And the thing is with this, I found myself thinking all the way through it, it wants to be kind of Black Hawk Down. It's not Black Hawk Down. Michael Bay, as much as he is trying at the moment, maybe he will never be, I think, as competent as a director as Ridley Scott. I do think though that he is here making a film that is kind of at the same stylized level, and I mean by that I mean the way it's shot, the way it's edited, that he has reined in his Bayisms. There are fleeting slow motion shots done in a couple of places, but they're done to show an explosion that happens, and that's it, for a kind of an effect of to hit it home, that happens kind of thing. Never over-grandizing the effects used, never over-grandizing the editing too much. He's really reined it in. There's none of the leeriness, and it feels like the kind of thing that if Black Hawk Down had been done by Tony Scott, this is what it would have come out like. And I have no problem with that. I was entertained. I did enjoy this. I've actually seen it twice now because I wanted to go back and see, did I misread it? Did I, was I just blown away by the action? And the action is well edited, but it does have moments, it has beats where the characters in between the attacks stop and they're talking and they're dealing with things, and I actually thought it was a fairly well handled action film, which has a bit of an emotional beat, given that it's based on a true events and what happened. So I'm all for this actually being more the way that Michael Bay's going. If he's going to be doing films like this, I'm happy to see it there and enjoy them for a couple of hours. If they're going to be more like Transformers, then no. But this, yes. I mean, we don't rate films, but I would give this a solid 7 out of 10.
Oh God, that's too much.
No, I mean, have you seen this? I
haven't. No.
Yeah, I want you to see it because I want you to see. And I'm not saying go into it like it's going to be amazing or anything, but seriously go into it and with the mindset of it being like Black Hawk Down, but not as good as Black Hawk Down. And I think you come out and go, you know what? It was okay. I don't think you would come out and say it was bad.
The thing is, though, I wouldn't even rate Black Hawk Down as a 7 either. Anyway, that's just me personally. I was asked by a few friends a couple of years ago to watch Black Hawk Down because I hadn't seen it, and I watched it, and I thought the film was fine, but I wasn't overly impressed with it. So if it's not, you've just given that a 7, so my guess is Black Hawk Down gets more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I thought, in my opinion, Black Hawk Down at a push would be a 6, this wouldn't even get near the 7 mark then, if that's the case.
Okay, I would probably say then you'd come out and think maybe there's at least 4 or 5.
We'll see. I'm not. I tried to actually do a movie on its own merits rather than what the director has managed to produce.
But I think a lot of. I mean, I've heard other reviews that were very snippy about it and very very much knocked it down, and I think that is because a lot of people now, with Michael Bay especially, find separating their views of a film just because it has directed by Michael Bay on it hard to do.
Because it's been really difficult to be able to do that, because you've been burnt by Michael Bay's films so many times in the past that it has caused him to have that horrendous stigma. He tried to supposedly do that with Pain and Gain, but Pain and Gain I think is even worse than some of the Transformers movies. So it's an absolutely abomination, that movie, and so he has brought it on himself pretty much to give himself the bad stigma, so you can sort of understand why people have this really sour taste in their mouth before they're even going to see a Michael Bay movie. And it's nice to be surprised, because Kristen Stewart has done that acting wise. She has surprised a lot of people by showing that she can definitely act. So there are times where you will get surprised. I was surprised that I did finally see a movie by Uwe Boll that wasn't too bad. And so it took him 9 movies to be able to do that.
Which one was that then?
Rampage.
I haven't seen it.
So I saw Rampage and I thought, actually this is not bad, it's okay. So it at least he's got a film that's managed to do that. So there is a chance that Bay can still release, in my eyes anyway, because 13 Soldiers, 13 hours looks a bit bad in my opinion, but there is a chance that he might actually release a film where it is pretty decent. Well, I need to see it first though. The 33, directed by Patricia Regan, is centres around. Now everybody heard about the mining disaster in Chile in 2010, when 33 miners were trapped inside the place where they worked. It was actually a gold mine, and they were trapped inside there for 69 days. And so it was all over the news for the 69 days. Now, it's taken a while for a movie to be made on the subject, and ironically 2 films decide to show their heads at once. One which is pretty much a documentary about what happens with it using the miners, and this one is a dramatic retelling of it, a very Americanized kind of version of it. And so what the director has gone and done is got actors like Antonio Banderas, Juliette Binoche and Lou Diamond Phillips and James Brolin to appear, and Gabriel Byrne as well, to appear in the film to take role of some of the miners and the people involved in it. So the story is pretty much exactly what you know about. These Chilean miners who worked in a gold mine was involved in a collapse after bringing to the forefront, especially in this clip, Lou Diamond Phillips' character, some of the problems that were occurring inside the mine.
I found this on level 3. So? We put these mirrors in the cracks so we know when the mountain shifts.
She's an old mine. The mountain is going to shift. The mirrors are going to break.
I think we should get a health check on the ramp. We may be looking...
The ramp is a good rock. The mine's got another 20 years left in her.
We may be looking at a weakness in the mountain's internal structure. Marco, it's my job to keep these men safe.
Correction. Your job, Lucho, is to keep these men pulling out 250 tons a day.
And that clip is very heat in your kind of thing. I know that's just like racist and weird, but
no, it's not racist at all.
Impressions this week, but yeah, it's very much like that, and that's sort of like unrecognizable of Lou Diamond Phillips. It's not a bad Chilean kind of accent to it. It's got a very Spanish twang to it.
I need to ask actually, because a friend of mine actually lives in Chile now. I need to ask him what he thinks of this and the accents and the performances.
Yeah, and because Antonio Banderas does sound like Puss in Boots. So
that's it's not any weirder a casting for Banderas than as in the 13th Warrior, where he was a Muslim.
So you like I said, everybody knows the story. Everybody knows the turmoil that's gone in it. And the thing with the 33 is it's a movie of two halves, very much like American Sniper. Now, the part that does work is the part that centers inside the mine, of the miners that are trapped inside there, the plight about them, how they're going to survive on the smallest rations that they've got, how long it's going to take for the rescuers to try and get to them, to even just give them some kind of like rations, water, food, things like that. That's the interesting part. The part where it's sort of like lacking is the part that's outside of the miners, when the rescuers are trying to attempt to get them, because that's where it becomes very Americanized. That's where it becomes very clean cut, very simplistic. Nothing pushes the envelope that much. Juliette Binoche is completely forgettable in the movie. She is just woefully underused in the film. They just needed like a very feminist character, very strong feminist character in the movie, and they thought we're going to get a good actress in Juliette Binoche, and she can be the one to do that. And it's just it sort of like signifies of what the outside part of the 33 is actually like. It's just lacking a lot. The inside the mine stuff is very well implemented. Claustrophobic feels at times, but you never overly feel that. And again, that's an unfortunate thing about the movie, considering that you do need to feel that claustrophobic kind of feel. It just feels like the mine where they're inside, the area is very expansive. And when you do start to get the amenities like t-shirts, football shirts, cameras, being able to get in contact with the outside world, it sort of like takes away from it a lot. It takes away the mysticism about what went on inside the mine, and in a way it would have been much more grittier if we didn't see any of these cameras or anything like that. It would have been a much better film if it was more about their plight to try and survive. So it's a very Americanized film about a tragedy that happened, which works sometimes, but most of the time it just doesn't.
Worth note as well that apparently Jennifer Lopez was cast in the film in Juliette Binoche's role before she had to leave it for some reason. She was busy with something else and couldn't make it to film, so they had to find her a couple of days before filming.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think anybody else, even no matter who you'd have gotten in the Juliette Binoche role, I don't think it would have made it any stronger or any weaker, because the character is just not fleshed out. It's very flat, very one-dimensional. It's just there to have like a voice of the people on the outside trying to get some information about their loved ones trapped inside the mine, and that's pretty much her character. It's just got no. They're trying to add a different side to her, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because I mean it's the bits as soon as you start seeing, there was some interesting bits in the whole thing above ground with the women and the families there, when it started with them kind of pushing for the politicians to actually get involved and to start digging for the men. That is the bit that when it's fine on the above ground, but then after that it's kind of like it feels, we need to fill up time to make up more of the story, and so the last hour of it, when there's more of this on the surface, that's when it feels a wasted opportunity, because there are scenes where it just jumps ahead a few days while they're in the cage, because obviously they were in there for 69 days, and there could have been more done with those times. There could have been more of the claustrophobia done. There could have been more done of that, and it is a very kind of, I think it's also, it needed to take a few more risks. It is kind of like I heard a review that said it's a very Disney-fied film, and it does play it very safe. It doesn't really, the action sequences of the actual collapse are really well handled and do look incredible, and the sound mix is really good in that as well, that you really can, I do give it applaud on the technical aspects of that. But then once you're in that element of them being sort of trapped in the dark in those areas, it could have been more, and it could have been more cinematic. It could have been more visual and more. You could have got more feel from it. Which is a shame, because it does feel almost kind of almost at times as if it's aimed at TV and not film.
Yeah, it's a tragedy that captivated the world, and it sort of like sums itself up at the end of the film, not giving anything away, because you obviously do see the minor is that kind of thing. This is this minor, this is this minor, this is this minor, and you do get the because it's really hard to actually review films like this without giving spoilers away, considering it's based on real events that happened 6 years ago. But you do see around the world, and it did captivate everybody. It's just a pity that the movie that they made out of it, it's just nowhere near as deserving of what actually happened to these miners. Mm-hmm. In a way, it's sort of like you said, it's Disneyfying them. It's walking up to each one of the miners and says, "There's a good boy, take a pair of Mickey Mouse ears."
Okay, on to the last cinema release, which is Youth. It is directed by Paolo Sorrentino. It is a drama following the character of who's just basically referred to a lot of the time as Maestro. I don't actually have a name written down here, but played by Michael Caine, who is a composer who's now retired, and maestro of an orchestra. He is retired and now at this kind of like a mountain retreat spa, where he's there with a director friend of his, played by Harvey Keitel. The two of them are sort of dealing with things and just relaxing and going through their days in this spa, while sort of discussing, you know, their past, their lives, their friendship, things that they've experienced and such, all the while going through certain things happening, such as, in particular for him, a representative from the Queen has come along to ask him to actually perform and to conduct an orchestra doing one of his songs for the Queen, to which of course he has reservations that he doesn't want to do it. Here's a clip.
I don't understand what exactly doesn't work. Is it the date? Is it the location? Is it the orchestra? Is it the soprano? Is it the Queen?
Please don't insist. Personal reasons.
What are these bloody personal reasons?
Personal means that I am not obliged to answer.
Well, let's see if we can resolve these personal problems then. I mean, what is it that's wrong?
The soprano.
We'll get a different one then, no problem.
It wouldn't make any difference.
Well, even though Sumi Jo is the absolute best. I mean, she's already expressed her enthusiasm as to being directed by you. She's ecstatic.
I am not interested.
What is it you have against her?
Nothing. I'd never even met her.
I've never even met her. You've never even met her, so what?
That's enough.
I'm sorry. I just do not understand what exactly is the problem.
The problem is that I compose the simple songs for my wife, and only she has ever performed them, and only she has recorded them. And as long as I live, she will be the only one to sing them. The problem is, dear sir, my wife can't sing anymore.
So there's all this going on at the time. There is appearances from his daughter, played by Rachel Weisz, who turns up as well, and you have all the other characters that are at the spa as well, including sort of appearances. You have cameo ones, but you have a sort of small role recurring, played by Paul Dano, who plays an actor who's there. And the thing with Youth is, it is a drama. It is an odd kind of drama, which at times is kind of trying to do this whole thing of being dramatic about these aged characters who, you know, looking over their lives, thinking, you know, is this it? Is this all I am? Is there more I can do? Is this the end of my life? Is this, you know, do I have more that I can go on to? Whereas at the same time you have all these sort of weird characters at certain points, and some bits of humour that are there, but not. It's not kind of like laugh out loud humour, apart from a few moments. There's a bit in particular with Paul Dano, who's dressed up as Hitler in makeup, which is very kind of questionable, but you're sitting there kind of laughing because you're just thinking this is ridiculous beyond belief. And there are moments in it like that where it's just being witty and clever, and the dialogue is kind of odd but crisp, and does make you giggle and smile, and it has some odd moments where you have Michael Caine's character is having these kind of dreams, and you see the dreams and the nightmares of people and stuff, and it's very, very warped in that way. So it's, I think, a film that it is a bit long because it's 2 hours and a bit, and some of the scenes I felt did drag a little bit in the middle, especially the first sort of hour had some moments in particular. Harvey Keitel is in there as a good foil with him playing back and forth, because they have some scenes where the two of them are just sitting there talking and arguing over things and talking and mulling over the past, and you have some oddness there as well, but it's an interesting movie. It's not going to be to everyone's taste because it is just a drama centering around old age and the tropes of that, but it's not just that. There is more to it than that, and it's all in the performance in particular of Harvey Keitel, and in particular Michael Caine, who is fantastic in the film.
It's very much, from what I can gather, very much like Sorrentino's previous English language film, This Must Be the Place. The one
It
that
is.
he did with Sean Penn.
It is just as kooky, although the characters well, in particular with Michael Caine's character as the main character, is a lot more grounded and easier to follow with and believe and not and to take more seriously and realistically than the problem with This Must Be the Place is that you honestly, at what point did you ever find yourself sitting there with Sean Penn's character and thinking, yeah, this character is all there, is perfectly fine? At what point did you take that character seriously? In this, I had no problem taking Michael Caine's character seriously because it's a great performance from Michael Caine. Even then, there's a weird bit when he actually sits on a rock in a field and orchestrates a field of cows, and the cowbells are dingling when he's moving his hands and stuff, and it's obviously it's a weird thing in his head, but it's at that point I was still with it. I didn't think, okay, what the hell's going on with this character? I don't get it. Whereas I did that several times in This Must Be the Place.
That's because Sean Penn's character looked like a love child between Edward Scissorhands and Robert Smith from The Cure.
That was a step too far for me. This was perfectly fine. I didn't love it. As I say, I think it's a bit too long. I found myself getting a bit tired of it towards the end, but it was a good film. I think that it needed a little bit of trimming here or there. That's it for this part of the show. We're going to take a quick break, after which we're back with this week's DVD and Blu-ray releases section. Almost did it without tripping up.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
Alright, welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're into the home release section where we have pretty much nearly double the amount of films that we've just reviewed in the cinema section. So we've got a lot to get through, which include these movies.
Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials. We have The Walk, Sicario, Macbeth. I hope nothing happens bad because I said that. Miss You Already, Captive, Regression, and Irrational Man.
Yeah, you only get bad luck with Macbeth if you hear it in theatre terms, and we're not in theatre, darling.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's just wrong.
I know. We also have our TV Movie of the Week, in my case, movies, all on completely different channels. So I've looked over loads of different channels, and I've chose movies from different channels rather than one.
I have 3 from 2 different channels.
I have 4 from 4 different channels.
Ooh.
So and there's 2 I guarantee
Go
you
you.
will not have.
Go you.
So yeah. Blu-ray and DVD top 10 then to kick things off, which will easily power through this because a lot of them are copies of what we keep on constantly going over.
Yeah, number 10 with Pixels.
Bad.
Number 9 with Momentum.
I've not seen it.
You've not seen it? I was expecting you to make some kind of joke like badder or something. Or no, I didn't think it was bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's a typical B-movie action film. Yeah. Number 8 is Kingsman: The Secret Service.
See, it wouldn't have worked. It would have failed when you get the Kingsman because you would have gone bad, badder, very good. So very. Good.
No. You could have done bad, badder, badass.
maybe. But it's an entertaining film.
Yeah. Theory of Everything at number 7.
So where would you have gone with this one then? After Badass? Sore-ass, considering that he's in a wheelchair a lot? Or is
No.
that being nasty?
No. I don't know. No, can't think of anything. Draw a blank.
Eddie Redmayne won an Oscar for this film. Like I said in this cinema section, he won't win one for The Danish Girl. It's a very good performance.
Number 6 is American Sniper.
Mentioned it when we were reviewing the 33. This is a movie with two halves. One good half, which is set in Iraq. One bad half, which is set in America.
Yeah, we'll skip over number 5, which is Lorraine Living to the Max of the exercise videos. Number 4 is Shades of Grey.
Which there are 50 of them.
Which bad word would you use for this?
Well, could it be any worse than...
Will it be your safe word? No.
Please don't go there. Or the Marlon Wayans movie?
No, yeah, 50 Shades of White. 50 Shades of White. Is it not white? No, black, isn't it? Yeah. You got to admit the trailer does look fairly decent.
Yeah, it's bombed at the US box office.
I know, but
actually, $5 million budget took $3.5 million.
Yeah, it's not lost it. Yeah.
But 50 Shades of Grey. The sequel is up and coming. They've just announced. That
was a piece of news. Yeah, Kim Basinger. We missed that in the news.
Yeah, so Kim Basinger is going to appear in the sequel.
As a previous lover of Grey.
Yeah, it still doesn't make me interested in going to see it, to be honest. It's just going to be what was the one she was in? She had her legs crossed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just roll on.
Yeah, Straight Outta Compton, number 3.
Yeah, I know somebody who absolutely adores this movie. She's seen it 4 times now. I could just get through the movie once. I couldn't get through this film 4 times. It's got some good acting in it. It's a movie that's too messy.
So I take it she's an NWA fan.
No, she's not. She's actually into rock and metal music like myself.
Really? Okay,
yeah.
That is interesting. I'd like to hear more about that actually, but we haven't time for it.
She's a huge, massive Slipknot fan. And
the
kind of music I listen to. But it surprised me that she's seen this 4 times now.
Yeah, okay. Is she strapped down and tied to a chair or something for it?
No, I think she likes it.
Dropping down from last week's number 1 to number 2 is Everest.
Yeah, it's a good film. Very well handled. Some really good shots in it. We agree on the fact that this is a movie that should be seen on the big screen rather than the small screen to get the best out of it, and also have a good sound system around, because there is some fantastic moments of like dread from the viewer when they do look and see the kind of drops that there could be involved, or climb the mountain. When you've got the wind whistling by you in proper surround sound, you do feel a few chills, and you're sort of like in a way involved. I would not like to take part in an Oculus Rift version of this, or one of those virtual reality headsets like they did with The Walk, which we're going to get onto a little bit later on.
I was just going to say, although saying that, obviously Everest is not my movie that I've bought. I haven't bought it yet, and it's not the movie that I'll be getting in 3D especially. There is, though, The Walk, which is a film that I have got in 3D, because it's,
with The Walk, I'm not going to buy one of the VR headsets, because the only one I probably would be able to afford is the PlayStation 1, which is rumored to be costing around about £350. But I'm sort of interested in the Gear VR, because I've got a Galaxy Gear S6, and so it would work with that, and they're only about £80, and you can get the experience on that, so I wonder what that's actually like.
So the number 1 DVD and Blu-ray release is Legend.
Yeah, good performance by Tom Hardy. The rest of the film is just lacking. It's some parts of it interesting story about the Korea twins. Pretty much after that, it doesn't hold interest. It's way too long as well.
Yep.
And that's about it.
Well, no, I mean, it's one of those. It's becoming kind of the trend of there's been a lot of releases now which have been centered around a great performance, and in this case, it's a great double performance from Tom Hardy, but that's all there is to the film. It doesn't have the film is just lackingly disappointing without his performance.
That's very true. Yeah, Taron Egerton is probably the best out of the rest of the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Right, onto the first of 8 new releases this week on Blu-ray and DVD is the Maze Runner Scorch Trials, or Maze Runner the Scorch Trials, because it's dropped the in the Maze Runner part. It follows on from when they've managed to escape from the maze. So we have Thomas, Teresa, Newt, Winston, Mino, and they've managed to escape from there along with other group of people. They've sort of managed to find a refugee kind of point, a point where they get rescued by a group who sort of like show them promise, the fact that they show them a life which might suit them really well, and unfortunately that's not the case, where this clip will explain.
Thomas, thank you for seeing me. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I was just hoping we might get a moment to chat in private, away from the others. Well, I won't take up too much of your time. I really only have one question. What do you remember about Wicked? You're not in trouble. We're just having a conversation. I'm just trying to understand.
Understand what?
Whose side are you on?
And so also in this bunker you've got somebody called Eris, who sort of like gives them an indication that something majorly bad is happening, and lo and behold it is the case. They escape from that into the Scorch, the title of the movie, and that's when the action sort of like hits full force, because they go on the run getting chased by this organisation known as the World Catastrophe Kill Zone Department, I think. Maybe, possibly, interesting acronym, but yeah, it's the very stereotypical kind of action sequel stuff. It has tick boxes. It ticks each one of the boxes, going, yeah, we've got a few big action set pieces, we've got a few scares here and there involving the zombie-esque kind of creatures in an abandoned shopping mall that's been covered by lots of the sand. We've got another refugee camp who could be good guys, who could be bad guys, who could be helping there to try and protect them from these ones who are chasing after them. Twists and turns along the way, blah-de-blah-de-blah. It's a series that's it's not bad. It's entertaining enough. It's nothing very special at all. It doesn't fall into the traps like the Divergent series has gone and done. It never wavers like the Hunger Games series does in quality. It sort of like fluctuates the Hunger Games series. It always seems to stay very much on the same level throughout the series, and in a way that they're the kind of movies that become forgettable. It's not going to be one of those ones go, oh, I've got to sit down and watch Maze Runner and Scorch Trials or watch the Maze Runner. It's just, you're not going to hear a lot of people go, I'm a big fan of that series. It's just, yeah, it's a watchable series, and that's pretty much what it is. It's okay, nothing special, but just okay.
Yeah, I agree largely with that. It's a bit disappointing that it didn't really up the game a bit, considering that the first one was trapped in this one sort of locale. This had the potential to be bigger scope, bigger scale, and as much as it obviously is out more in different locations, such, it doesn't really take advantage of that as much as it could. It also is very, very, very on the edge of the 12A15 rating. I think the 12 rating sometimes I think it does kind of push through that, and is very, very graphic with the effects of the creatures, and quite, if you're watching it in the dark in the cinema, it is quite terrifying at moments. The stress levels are quite high, so I think that it's very borderline in that regard. Okay, The Walk, as we were talking about a moment ago, the movie partly written and directed by Robert Zemeckis, based on the true story of Philippe Petit, who is a wire walker who, I mean, it's not a spoiler to say he, in the 1970s, put across a wire between the two buildings of the Twin Towers, and did a wire walk across them. This is a sort of dramatic storytelling of that, because if you've seen, there's a documentary called Man on the Wire, which is the whole thing done as documentary, very, very good documentary. This is basically the dramatising of that, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing the main character, in sort of kind of flashbacks and explanations and voiceover as he's telling us, starting off with him in France, where he starts to learn his interest and learn his trade, and then when he becomes sort of addicted to the idea of doing this with these towers, as he sees them advertised in a paper as almost being finished, completed and built. So of course he starts to put together a team and people, and starts to try and actually plan all this to put across his wire and do this amazing feat. Here's a clip.
Voila. My dream.
And this is you.
Yes. It will be the most glorious high wire walk in history.
And how high must this wire be to make so much glory?
Over 100 stories high.
Where do trees like this grow?
These are not trees. Two magnificent towers. 100 meters taller than the Eiffel Tower itself.
I see.
What do you think?
I don't know. It looks so beautiful, yes. And dangerous and completely insane, and you're a madman.
Yes, I'm mad, but this is my dream.
Then if it's your dream, you must do it.
But even if everybody tells me I'm mad...
Well, you shouldn't care about what other people think.
Okay, but I care what you think.
I love your dream.
Yes?
Yes.
So the thing with The Walk is because it was one of my favourite films of last year. I saw it in, not IMAX, but I saw it in a super screen, which is basically like an IMAX version of the film. And it's because it's basically on a normal screen, but it's such a huge screen that I think it is that it has to actually use the IMAX version to not lose picture quality. And I was honestly quite blown away by it, not for the drama or anything, but because of just the way it was done, and the actual wire walking sequence itself is incredible in 3D. I thought, well, it's one of these films that you've got the list of, Avatar, Life of Pi, and I can't think of the name of it, the space one, Gravity, things like that. They're the ones that you go, right, this one should be seen in 3D. I'm officially, in my opinion, adding The Walk to that list, because it is one of those ones that's really impressive 3D footage from the height and the way it's done, and it's impressive. But I also found it to be quite a genuinely moving film about the Twin Towers, and about basically kind of a weird ode love story to the Twin Towers from this character, because obviously he sees these towers and he becomes obsessed that he has to do this. It's a thing that will define him, and it kind of defines the towers at the point as well, because up to then a lot of people in America really, and in New York, really thought they were ugly looking horrible things until he did this. And then afterwards there's a point afterwards when someone says to him, look, they've changed, you've changed them, they're different, and it's that kind of a thing that it genuinely was a film that brought a lump to my throat, especially with the ending and the way it ends, and obviously with what did happen to the two towers eventually. So I found it was an odd, in a weird way, kind of love story, and I genuinely thought it was a nicely handled film. And it's a PG film as well. It's not often you get a film that doesn't try to just push the boundaries because it has to. It just does what it's doing, telling the story, and it does what it needs to and no more, which is nice, and it's very sort of succinct to that point.
Yeah, it's a good film. It's a very good film, very well played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
With the exception of his accent, yeah, we're going to say.
Slightly great with his accent. I was just to mention that there. His accent is a bit sort of like him taking the mickey in a way of a French accent, but you slightly forgive it in a way. It grows on you throughout the film. You don't get distracted by the accent at all. It's just when the high wire scene happens, it's a gasp at first, but because he constantly just goes back and forth on it, yep, we get it, yes, we know you can do it, just stop it now. And you're just sitting there for 10-15 minutes watching the same thing going over and over again, so it dilutes what he's managed to achieve. It shouldn't majorly put you off the film, because the performance is really good, and overall the movie itself is very interesting. It's very Zemeckis anyway.
It is, yeah.
It's got his hands all over it, and so it's got his kind of style. Because even if you look at Beowulf, Beowulf never fully goes into adult territory, even though there are scenes which get very close to it, but it never fully does that, and he sort of like, in a way, knows where to tie it off, and when he does attempt an adult film, he does actually specifically make it for that audience, so he knows where the lines are to cross, and he never ever actually fully crosses it. But yeah, it's a good film. It's not an exceptional film or very good film, but it is a good, entertaining film.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and as I say, it was one of my favourite films. It was in my top 10. I'm trying to think what it was now. I think I put it number 7. And I really was just kind of bowled over by it overall. Not amazingly, but just as the whole package, I thought was really impressive. It really sort of linked with me.
Yeah, on to Sicario then. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, fantastic director. Sort of like siding cinematography wise with Roger Deakins, nominated for an Oscar this year. Definitely deserves his nomination because he is a superb cinematographer, and it actually proves it in the opening shot of the film. That huge, massive, expansive opening shot of the film itself gives you an indication of the kind of camera work that you're going to get in the movie, and it's indicative with the opening sequence, which involves this group of CIA agents sort of like exploding into this supposedly abandoned crack den to try and track down this drug dealer, and they discover an ultimately dark secret. This leads the character played by Emily Blunt to be sort of like accosted in a way by Josh Brolin's character, who's played by his character is Matt Graver, played by Josh Brolin. Eventually got it the right way around, and asks her to be part of the team that he's sort of like involved in, where they need to track down this Mexican drug cartel leader along with his henchmen to try and stop him. And along the road you've got a character who's played by Benicio del Toro, sort of like the one who is the silent but brooding kind of interesting character. You know there's something seriously wrong with him, and evidently throughout the film information starts to unravel, and she starts to become skeptical about the kind of people that she's involved with and the kind of things that they are doing. Now, there isn't a clip for the film because the fact that pretty much all the clips just involve lots of shouting and explosions and gunshots, and it's annoying when they don't release clips where it might be the times where it involves proper conversations to see what's going on. It would have been nice to have something like that to just give you an indication of the kind of feel this film is, and it's very much like Denis Villeneuve. Prisoners and the other films that he's directed, it's got his sort of like fingerprints on it. It's very gritty.
That's your phrase of the night, isn't it?
Pardon?
That's your phrase of the night.
What?
Fingerprints on it.
But it's very gritty. It's very dark. It's got that thriller kind of edge of, you just see it, sort of like feel to it. It's got a fantastic performance by Emily Blunt. She's pretty much the only woman in the movie. She needs to be a very strong character, and she sort of grows throughout the film, but not in the way of like it happens in Zero Dark 30, whereas the character definitely evolves throughout the film. She does grow a lot, but not as much as you hoping to be. Benicio del Toro plays the very stereotypical kind of brooding character, and it works well for him. He can bring off malevolence by just looking at you. If you're in a room with him when he's staring at you, be prepared to wet your pants. And now that's the kind of thing that you need with his kind of character. And the same with Josh Brolin. You realise he's sort of like got some kind of secrets. He's holding back information that he's not going to definitely divulge to you. And it's in the way he actually speaks with people, the kind of speeches that he has. And so it's gritty, it's dark, it can be a bit of a hard watch at times. It is a movie that's trying to be like things like Zero Dark 30. It never gets up to that kind of level, but it's still a very good watch.
Okay, on to Macbeth, which is directed by Justin Kurzel. Is of course an adaptation of the William Shakespeare play, where you have the character of Macbeth, who is a warrior who is given a prophecy by some witches that he will become the King of Scotland. He is then, from then onwards, kind of troubled by this, and through events does become king by killing the king. taking the throne. But this, of course, has a weight on him and weighs on him very heavily to a point that it starts to, of course, drive him insane. And you have the main character of Macbeth being played by Michael Fassbender, with his wife Lady Macbeth being played by Marion Cotillard, who is there kind of trying to keep him sane and try and stop the people from realising that he is slowly losing his mind. Here's a clip.
Which of you have done this?
What, my good lord?
Thou canst not say that I did it!
His Highness is not well.
Sit, worthy friends. Pray you keep seat. The fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will again be well. If much you note him, you shall offend him and extend his passion. Feed and regard him not. Are you none?
Aye. And a bold one that dare look on that which might appall the devil.
Oh, proper stuff.
Prithee, see there. Behold. Look, lo, how say you?
This is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan. Why do you make such faces?
So, of course, this is an adaptation of a stage play, but it's been built up to work cinematically in some respects. It does start out with a war field and a battle that takes place, very grandiose, very big scale, and shot beautifully, using very, very odd use at certain times of very, very slowed down footage. I mean, if you're looking at slow motion, this would be sort of 10 times slow motion. It's very, very slowed to just show how war is crazy and that happening. The problem is that the film at times has these great ideas. It wants to be visual, and it does things that are visual in the way it's framed or the way it's shot and the way it's done, and then other times it just feels like they've thrown that away and just gone, no, we're just doing this bit and do this bit, and it very much is kind of a schizoid split personality in the way, oddly, like the character is losing his mind. You're sitting there watching it, you're thinking, what's going on with this? I'm amazed by this bit, but then I'm bored by this bit, and it doesn't know what it wants to do visually as much as it's trying to tell the story from the stage play, and it's. I don't know the stage play, so I can't say, but I've heard that some of the characters are very underused and badly sort of underplayed. In particular, Lady Macbeth is underused in this, I've heard from other versions, and I personally didn't think she was a particularly great character. That's possibly why, but it's a film that is very much a mixed sort of message of two halves that don't mix together. It needed to really decide and be a bit more confident in deciding to do one or the other, not trying to do both. It's not a bad film, and the reason for that is because of the fact that it's got a great performance at the core of it by Michael Fassbender, who is absolutely captivating and brilliant, and there are scenes where he's just going through his dialogue, but he's doing it with such vivacity that it's just captivating and it's brilliant. But it's not enough. It's the same thing like with Legend. We were saying it's a very, very average and underwhelming film, surrounded and pinned together by a great performance from Tom Hardy. This is the same. The film itself is very lacking at times, and Fassbender in those moments is the only thing that's making you sit there going, I'm getting bored, I should be turning away, but Fassbender is keeping me here. The rest of the film isn't.
On to Miss You Already then, directed by Katharina Hardwicke. Again, I think I've got your disease this week, with the struggles of trying to pronounce actors and directors' names. But Catherine Hardwicke, she was involved with the Twilight series, so she directed the first Twilight movie. So it might give you an indication of what to expect with Miss You Already. It's a very simple story of friendship, starring both Drew Barrymore and Toni Collette, who play Millie and Jess respectively. It's just about the opening of the film explains that Jess, she's come from America She's sort of like, in a way, being made fun at as a little kid. Befriends Millie, played by Toni Collette. They grow up pretty much together. Toni Collette's character, she meets up with Dominic Cooper's one, who plays Kit, who's in a band, ends up becoming pregnant. Life changes from there, and sort of like she gets her life together, whereas Jess, she's always wanted a child. She's got a relationship with Paddy Considine's character, plays Diego, and through their life, she's striving to get a child. However, it's not all flowers and sunshine for Millie. It's discovered that she has got breast cancer, and then it could significantly get worse. And so while her life's changing in that front and her regressing in a way to being more of a teenager kind of character, for example, she starts some kind of free song with the lead singer of the band All American Rejects. And so yeah, she sort of like regresses, whereas Jess, she's sort of like growing up more so. Here's a clip.
She always talked to me. Everything I do is wrong.
That's just the way she is.
Perhaps she's punishing me, not being the kind of mother she needed. Feel free to contradict me. Wasn't really there, was I? Lying around the world, never at home. 2 husbands, different boyfriends. Selfish.
You had an exciting career.
Yes.
I can't have any drama in my life right now, and Millie is drama.
Please, Jess, help her to sort everything out. I know she's drama, but she's our Millie.
And so, before watching this one, considering that Hardwick's sort of like track record, you were probably going to expect some kind of schmaltzy, vomit-inducing bore-fest. Whereas in fact, that's not the case with Miss You Already. It's got some good performances in it, especially by Toni Collette. I think she's really good in the film. Drew Barrymore is fine. She did pretty decent with the character, but I think Toni Collette's her performance is much stronger. So it's sort of like any kind of problems that you have with the way Barrymore plays her character, you see them. You see the problems manifestate them. I think it's the rest of the supporting cast which is slightly weak. I think Dominic Cooper character and Paddy Considine ones is sort of like lacking in a way. They don't have any strength with them. It's all about the female friendship between both of them in their lead roles, but it still would have been nice to have a strong sort of like male kind of friendship in there as well, because they do bond every now and again, the husbands are of them, but you just don't see it that much. And so it does fall into the traps and tropes of being very schmaltzy, very kind of thing where it needs to tug on your heartstrings because of the subject that it is showing. But it's watchable. It's definitely watchable with a couple of decent performances. One very good performance, one good performance.
Okay, on to Captive, which is a small film from Jerry Jameson. It's another one based on a true story. This time it's a story about a single mother who is a sort of struggling drug addict who is kind of struggling to recover. Things are not going great for her because she's sort of dealing with this to try and get her daughter back and look after her daughter who's currently with her mother, when she's taken hostage by a man who escapes from he's a prisoner who's on sort of a trial and escapes from a courthouse. He ends up taking her hostage, and during the time the two of them sort of end up spending together, she is then sort of working her way into talking with him and explaining to him about her life, and he is sort of there trying to figure out what's going on while obviously she is in that situation, and the two of them kind of the back and forth a little bit, while obviously police are trying to find him and track him down. The two leads are played by Kate Mara and David Oyelowo, who it's surprising to see the two of them because they're both kind of bigger actors than this typical kind of film. It is a small film, and it does feel very much like it's for television more than sort of cinematics. It did get a cinema release, for a small one. It's a thing as well. It feels very much a missed opportunity because I'm not a religious person, but I find that religion in films, honestly, if it's done in the right way, can make a very interesting subject in a film. And supposedly the true story about this is that the woman was in the middle of her life, moving around and things. In amongst all of her things was a book that someone gave her about how religion can sort of save your life and, you know, kind of be born again and stop you from having the problems of, you know, things like drug addiction, for example. And at one point he is holding her hostage, she's sitting there with her and she's got this book and he says, you know, read some of this. So she sits there reading out loud to him. And this is supposedly a big thing of what happened and eventually led to things happening. And the thing that really annoys me about it is that is in a film that is an hour and a half long. That is a 5-minute montage that is very much glossed over. If they had done the film and focused on that, if there had been a big part of that, I'm talking a 20-minute, 15, 20-minute, 25-minute sequence of that, of the discussion of that, of how that affected her life, how that affected his life, how they realised that and things, I really would have thought it would have been a great film for that potential dramatic thing of, you know, someone finding themselves and discovering it. As it is, a 5-minute montage just doesn't do it. It doesn't pay it justice. It's supposedly this big event that happened in the lives of these two people, and it's just glossed over like that, which really annoyed me and felt like it was kind of like saying, oh, that's not the important thing. And for me, I thought that was the important thing of the two of them. It's kind of where the two of them come to an understanding, and that's it. And I just thought after that, very much sort of humdrum, could have done a lot better, could have been a lot more focused in the right areas to make it an above average film instead of being just a very average straight to TV movie. It's a TV movie. That's the kind of level it is. It's a shame because it had potential there to be great if they'd focused in the right areas.
Yeah, it doesn't have any punch to it. There is nothing in the movie that just sort of like hits you. When he does take her captive, there's just nothing there. There just never feels like there is anything there with the film, and so it's a completely washable kind of movie.
Yeah, I just think. Do you not think that, as I say, you know what I'm talking about, that sequence where it's literally a 5-minute montage in the film? If that had been, you know, a 20-minute, half an hour sequence, they could have easily worked that out and had them talking, you know, about that instead of having the scenes leading up to that, or, you know, some of us. Do you not think that would have made for a actually engrossing, interesting sort of character moments?
Yeah, it could have, but I think the thing with the film itself, there is a lot more problems than just that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just way too humdrum. I don't even think that it would have actually suited a television series because it already...
Oh, no, I don't mean a series, but yeah, a TV movie, I mean.
I don't think it would have even suited that because there is not enough there to actually being able to support that even. And Regression, which is the next film directed by Alejandro Amenabar, is sort of like got a similar kind of feel to Captive in a religious undertone with it. It centers around Emma Watson's character and set in the 1980s in Minnesota. And it just tells the story of her character. She supposedly was sexually abused by her father. Her father admitted to it in a way, sent to prison. But then it's discovered by Ethan Hawke's character that it could have just been all a ruse. It could have been all of something fake. Could it be something to do with religion? Could it be something to do with satanic cults? Because he discovers that the grandmother was involved with satanic rituals, and there's creepy things that happen in the barn. And you've also got a professor who's played by David Thewlis, who sort of like adds suspicion to the ongoing investigation of, is what the father's saying actually true, or is what Emma Watson's character saying completely made up, and she's doing this for some other erroneous reasons. Now, the film, it's got a couple of moments where it works, but predominantly the rest of it just doesn't fall into place because it's not sure what kind of film it's attempting to be. It's not sure whether it wants to try and be a drama about a daughter who has been raped by her father and trying to investigate whether this is true. It's not sure whether it wants to be a horror movie because at times it falls into the tropes of horror movie with the satanic rituals and them seeing sort of like video footage of these kind of things being performed in the barn that's discovered at the family house. It's not sure whether it wants to be a thriller. And so it tries its hand in different genres but never succeeds in any of the genres because the performances aren't particularly strong enough to be able to hold any of the areas where it attempts to do, and the other areas aren't particularly strong enough to make a coherent kind of film. So overall, it just becomes a melting pot and a bit of a messy, sort of like wishy-washy movie. Whereas if it just decided to lock onto one of the three areas where it's exploring, it would have made a much more interesting movie. It would have been an interesting horror film. Looking at the satanic rituals and possession, it would have made a much more interesting drama to explore whether the father is truthful in what he's saying, and it would have been made a much more interesting thriller with the police officer trying to discover the truth of what is going on and having the undercurrents of the satanic rituals. So overall, it's just a completely forgettable film.
Okay, the last film is Irrational Man, which is a Woody Allen movie. It is centering around the characters of Abe and Jill, played by Joaquin Phoenix and Emma Stone. He is a kind of a professor of philosophy who has lost all interest in his life and all interest really in the subject of philosophy. He's teaching at the school even though he's kind of a drunk and has sort of no ambition of doing any better or sort of really taking care of teaching his students particularly with any care, any interest. And it's a case of that he then starts to become interested because of the fact that he meets Jill, and who kind of interests him a little bit to a certain degree, and sort of this is the clip we're going to hear just now when the two of them sort of meet and talk about that for the first time. Here's a clip.
Hi, you wanted to see me?
Yes, your paper was quite good.
Really?
Yes, I read so many papers, and usually the students are merely paraphrasing what they've read, but I found your thinking fresh and well presented.
Oh, thank you. I'm flattered. I have to say I was very influenced by your ideas on randomness and chance.
Oh. Well, the truth is what I found most exciting was when you took issue with my ideas. When you disagree with me, your arguments were well-reasoned and original.
Am I blushing right now? That's a really big compliment. Thank you. I did actually find some parts of your book a little hard to follow, though, and I would love if you could explain some things to me.
Sure. Can we get out of here, though, before I die of suffocation?
Now, the thing is that then what happens is that they overhear people talking in a diner, and he then starts to become interested and more kind of excited at life because of the idea that he discusses and plans in response to what these people are talking about, actually committing a murder. And it's the idea of this planning of the murder and doing the murder that actually kind of reinvigorates his life and his idea and his philosophy and everything, and kind of adds a spark to his life again. It's a really odd film. I mean, given obviously it's Woody Allen, I'm not a big fan of Woody Allen stuff. I did really love Midnight in Paris, which is the first time I've really liked anything of his that I've seen, and I didn't find this as good as that, but I did get myself into it. I did quite engrossed with the characters and did find it amusing at times, not laugh out loud funny, but just amusing and entertaining, and a solid hour-and-a-half film.
Okay, then that's it for the new releases this week. Let's swiftly move on to TV movies of the week.
Yeah, well, I've got three. We've possibly got some of the same ones here, but the three I've got the three. I think I know which one it is. It's not this one. It's The Guard. I've got is Tuesday the 2nd of Feb. So tomorrow night on Film 4 11:10, which is the Brendan Gleeson Irish police one, which is a very, very good one. On Saturday the 6th on Channel 4 at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's the one of the ones I've got.
Yeah, it's Prisoners, which is Dennis Villeneuve's one, his predecessor to Sicario, which is the one with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal in a very, very good sort of thriller, which is a shocking but engrossing film. And one of my personal favourites, Alien 3, it's Sunday the 7th of February on Channel 4 at 11:05 p.m.
I knew you would go for that one, and so out of the three, which one would you choose?
Well, Prisoners.
Yeah, good choice. The ones I've chosen, Film 4, Friday the 5th at 1:25 a.m. in the morning. We had to choose one where it's like at a stupid time. So very early Saturday morning, late Friday night, Stakeland.
Oh, yes.
I love that film. That film is a vampire film, sort of, in a way, but and a road movie in a way, and a post-apocalyptic movie in a way. But it's just brilliantly well acted, very well directed. Definitely worth a watch. If you're up that late, if not, record it. Screamers. I actually have a soft spot for Screamers. I don't know why. You watch it now and it's sort of like you can see it's a bit flabby, etc. But I have a slight soft spot for it. It's on the Horror Channel on Friday the 5th, also at 10:55. So you can watch this and then switch over onto Film Phone Watch Stakeland. So Screamers, I quite liked it. The sequel took ages to come out and definitely wasn't worth the wait. The sequel's not very good at all. It shows you how bad the sequel is. They actually bundled a copy of the original film in with it for free. So there's that. And my TV movie of the week, TV choice, TV pick, is a channel which we very rarely explore. It's on Sunday the 7th at 10:50 a.m. in the morning, and it's on a channel called Movie Mix, and it's the absolutely amazing Australian kids adventure film Red Dog. I love that film.
It is a great film.
It's a small little movie which very few people have heard of, but I loved it. And yeah, I implore anybody to watch it. It's a perfect film for you to put your kids in front of to watch it. And as soon as you do that, you'll sit down and watch it. So that's my choice, Red Dog. That's on Movie Mix, Sunday the 7th, 10:50 a.m. What is your overall movie of the week?
Well, it has to be Spotlight. Although I would say if you like action films, give 13 Hours a go.
Yeah, no, I would see a Spotlight. So that's it for this week's show. Make sure you check out the website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, Twitter @Monday Movie Show. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole, Andrew's at EHDVD. Give us some, drop us an email, mondaymoovieshow@yahoo.com. Give us your feedback, tell us what you think. Make sure you check out the video game show following T Gamer. You can follow that on Twitter now at that handle there. You can also check it out on followingthenerd.com, where you'll find this show as well. And also, if you're interested in training yourself up, JB Fitness on Facebook. I thought I would give them one more mention. And that's it for this week's show. Keep an eye out on the website. I'll give you an indication when next week's show will happen, whether it be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's one of those 3 days, you can probably guarantee that. And so until next week, we'll play you out with a clip for Trumbo, which we will be reviewing on next week's show. Until then, goodbye.
My apologies. We've had more than our share of crank calls lately.
I can't imagine.
Please have a seat. May I get you a drink?
No, thank you.
All right. So?
I'm doing a new picture. And I just got the script.
Sure. There must be 7 hours of entertainment there.
Not a single page is entertaining. But there's a good story in there, somewhere, about one man who tried to take on the whole world.
Well, you've got me so far.
He was a slave who led a revolt against the Roman Empire.
Now, what's the title?
Spartacus.